But for our purpose today, that grill is a metaphor. It's a metaphor for all of the opportunities, people, investment possibilities, venture capitalists, JV partners, etc., that are available to you that you don't see because you're so focused on the way it is according to you, the white team, that you miss the opportunities and the resources that come your way every day, but you don't see them. The same way you're not aware of what you're feeling in your right foot right now until I say it because you think it's not important. You're so focused on how it is, what's always been, what you believe, which is not necessarily accurate, that you miss that which would fulfill your potential. So when you start visualizing that which you want, now you're focusing mentally on the black team, and you're going to see more of those resources that will help you achieve that goal that we'll call the black team. Does that make sense? Okay, good. So the correct answer for those who like to be right is 16. Okay? All right, but that's not the important part of the exercise. So we said before, visualize your goals as complete twice a day, first when you wake up, sometime before you go to bed at night. Now, I love this cartoon. It says, in the days before television, what did people used to do? You know, they just watch the wall, not really. But imagine this. Research now shows the average North American watches 6 hours of television a day. 6 hours a day. You may think that's I couldn't watch 6 hours a day. Some people get up, first thing they do, they turn on the news. So either in the kitchen, they're watching, Good Morning America or whatever the Canadian equivalent of that is, Toronto Morning or whatever it might be. And so the reality is, then you come home, maybe you watch the news again, you sit down, you watch a baseball game or a hockey game. Next thing you know, you're watching a movie, and you spent 1/4 of your day watching TV. Now, if you watch 6 hours a day, and most of you probably watch a little less in here, but let's say you watch 6, if you're average, that means by the time you're 60 years old, you'll have spent 15 years of days with no sleep, 24-hour days, 15 years watching television. Think of what you could have accomplished in 15 years if you didn't watch 6 hours of television. So the reality is, I'm going to suggest, I'm not going to say don't ever watch TV. I mean, I think that's smart for a lot of people. But I'm going to suggest if you just cut out 1 hour of TV a day. So my mentor, W. Clement Stone, said to me, when I first worked with him, he was a $600 million guy, worth $600 million. He said, Jack, do you watch TV? I said, yes, I do. He said, how many hours a day? I said, I don't know. He said, I don't know is not acceptable in this organization. Think. So I thought. I said, well, I don't know. Morning TV, come home, watch the news, maybe watch an hour show. So 3 hours. He said, I want you to cut out 1 hour of TV a day. I said, okay. And then he said, here's what I want you to do with it. I either want you to read or I want you to do something productive, like exercise, make extra sales calls, study, take a class, do whatever it is. But if you do that, he said, this was the major part. He said, the second most powerful habit after meditation, visualization, and affirmations, he said, is to cut out an hour of TV. And he called the television the income reduction box. He said, while you're watching TV, you're watching other people get rich while you're not. I thought, that's pretty astute. He says, if you eliminate 1 hour a day, that's 365 hours a year. Divide that by a 40-hour work week, Jack, he said, you get 9.5 extra weeks. That's like having 2.5 extra months a year to outmaneuver your competitors, to make more sales calls, to go and research more properties, to meet with more venture people that can do JVs with you. Whatever it might be, you're just going to be more productive. Even if all you did with that was exercise, you'll be healthier. Or if you spent quality time with your spouse and your family, you'd have a better relationship, healthier family, kids would grow up better, etc. So, someone once taught me this. Success is not won by a 100-yard dash. It's little increments every day over time. There's a wonderful book a friend of mine wrote, I'm trying to remember the name of it right now, The Compound Effect. And the compound effect says if I'm here, and here's my brother, and here's me, and we're going along like this. And all of a sudden, we're playing baseball, and he's going into the batting cage, and every day he's hitting 200 balls. But I decide to hit 220 balls. And what starts to happen is over time, that little bit of 20 extra every day starts to go out here, and pretty soon I'm much better than he is. just because I hit 20 more balls every day than he did. But over time, over 10 years, I'll have hit thousands and thousands and thousands of balls. Makes me a much better hitter. Same thing with golf, same thing with anything you might do. So it's the little increments, an hour a day, that can make you really successful over time. Now, you've all heard of the internet. I mentioned my friend coined this term called the internet. Tell you a quick story. We decided one year we were going to sell 1 million books in one day. It'd be like 77 properties in 1 year. No one had ever done it. Since the time we decided to do it, only J.K. Rowling has done it with her 5th Harry Potter book. And it was all pre-sales on Amazon, so they all went out the same day. And we didn't know how to do it. We just committed to the what, didn't know the how. Well, we started visualizing, doing the affirmation, doing the visualization and so forth. And then I find myself at a conference called Book Expo America. I'm sitting in the booth with our publisher, Chicken Soup for the Soul. We're signing books and talking to bookstore owners, and you should buy these books for your bookstore next year and so forth. And my publisher at 5 o'clock said, well, it's time to go. And he had a limousine. He would take myself and Mark and a couple of his best-selling authors back to the hotel, usually go to the bar, have a drink kind of thing. And that day, for some reason, I said, no, I don't feel I want to leave yet, which meant I was going to have to take the bus, go stand in line, wait for the bus, stop off at 3 hotels before we got to my hotel. But I didn't care. I just said, I just know I'm supposed to stay. So I stay, talk to a few people. It's time to leave, about 6. Go down to the bus. I get on the bus. I sit down. A woman next to me says, you're Jack Canfield. I said, yes, I am. I was feeling pretty cocky, like, wow, she recognized me. She picked that up. She said, you're wearing a name tag. I said, I got it. Then she said, you're the chicken soup guy, right? You and Mark. I said, yeah. She said, what are you up to these days? I said, well, a couple of months ago, we decided to set a goal to sell 1 million books in one day. And as fast as I said that, she said, I can help you do that. And I said, really, how's that? She said, I am the buyer for the W.H. Smith bookstores. We have bookstores in most of the airports around the world. And what we could do is we could take all of your co-authors, because most of our books, like Canadian Soul, Raymond Aaron is the co-author of, Baseball Soul is Tommy Lasorda, who was the manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers at the time. So we have all these co-authors. They said, we'll take you and we'll put you and some of your co-authors in the East Coast airports, from Portland to Boston to New York, JFK, and LaGuardia. We'll go down to DC, Philadelphia, Atlanta, Miami. And we'll sign books like maybe from 6:30 until 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning. And we'll put you on a plane. We'll fly you to the Midwest. You can sign books again in Denver and Dallas and Houston and Chicago and St. Louis. And then we'll fly you to the West Coast. You can sign books that night in, Seattle, San Francisco, LA, San Diego, etc., Phoenix, and all those places. I said, wow, that's a cool idea. She said, we'll do advertising in all our stores for about 2 weeks leading up to it. We'll get a hotel partner so people will have a place to stay. Your co-authors will have airline partners so we can, we'll get all this free stuff. I said, great. And I said, why would you help me do that? And she said, that's when she called me dummy. She very quickly has a relationship that Sunil and I started to have the other night, just messing with each other. She says, dummy, if I sold 1 million books to the W.H. Smith bookstores in one day, you don't think that would make me look like a hero to my boss? And I went, got it, right? Now you could say, well, that was just lucky. You were lucky to sit down next to her. No, that was the law of attraction at work from having done the inner work that allowed me to sit next to her to have that happen. Had I not sat next to her, we never would have taken on that project. So the reality is you've got to be willing to do the work and trust that it's going to happen. And when it does, you're going to start getting inspirations like stay here, call my brother, go to a different Tim Hortons than the one I normally go to, stay up late, watch that show, read that book, meet that person, whatever it is, and then you have to act on it, because that's when the good stuff happens. So let's do 1, 2, 3, whoosh. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, whoosh. Good job. All right. So the last thing is behavior. So we got thoughts, images, and behavior. So we want to talk about some of the actions that are required. So what's the one thing you think that most separates the winners from losers in life? Anyone? Just yell it out. I heard attitude. I heard mindset. Execution. Mindset. Energy. Action. perseverance. All of those are really important. But if you have to boil it down to one thing, and several people have mentioned it in their talks earlier today, it's taking action. The chicken has to cross the road to get to the other side. And so all this stuff we're doing leads up to taking the actions, the right actions, enough action, so on and so forth. So success principle number 7 that's critical is take action. I love this cartoon. It says, step 1, apply miracle cellulite cream to problem areas. Step 2, run 10 miles. I love this, the thinker and the doer, right? So thinking's important, but at some point you got to get off the pedestal and go do the work. All right. Now there's 2 kinds of actions, what we call obvious actions. Obvious actions, you want to be a doctor, you got to go to medical school. You want to be a real estate investor, at some point you have to bite the bullet and go buy or put together a real estate investment, just whatever it is, you got to go buy your property. And whether you fix it up and flip it or you hold it for rent and do profit on that, whatever it is, at some point you got to sign that dotted line, like the guy that called Sunil and said, come on down, I don't know if I want to sign this or not. And cost him $5,000 to have Sunil say, yes, sign it, right? Could have made that decision on his own. Not that you shouldn't have a good mentor in your life, but sometimes it's just a matter of just doing it. So there's obvious things. You want to lose weight, got to eat less calories, got to burn more. Simple. Now, if you're not sure about how to go about a goal, ask someone who's already done it. You can ask them in person, by phone, by email. You can take their course, their workshop, their seminar like you're here today. You can read their book or their manual. You can listen to their audio program or their DVD, their webinars. And you can ask them to mentor or to coach you. So there's lots of ways to get information for people who've already done it. I love that Tony Robbins quote, that says basically find someone who's done what you want to do, go find out how they did it, and then go do the same thing. You're probably going to get the same results. So it's critical. You can hire a consultant to help you as well. Now, something we want to have you do is called the rule of 5. I mentioned it earlier today. Every day for your breakthrough goal, which you've now written down, you're going to commit to 5 action steps that you're going to do before you go to bed that night. And that's what you're going to tell your accountability partner. This is what I'm committed to today. These are my 5 action steps. Let's talk about that just another minute before we talk about accountability partners. So with Chicken Soup for the Soul, we did 5 action steps every day for 14 months before we hit a bestseller list. We would send out 5 free copies to reviewers. We would call 5 radio stations and ask if they would interview us. We'd call 5 ministers and ask if we could come do a lecture at their church and sell books in the back of the room. Some of them even let us replace them. They didn't have to do a sermon that week because we did a sermon using Chicken Soup stories that were based on biblical principles. And sometimes we would send 5 free books to producers of TV shows, hoping they would read it and like it and maybe use it, talk about it, hire us to come speak to their group, whatever it was. 5 things every day, 5 things a week, 5 times a week, work week. And so by the end of the year, we had done, almost 1,000 things. If you were to go to a tree with a sharp axe, I don't care how big that tree is, biggest oak you can find up here, and 5 swipes with a sharp axe, eventually, over time, might take months, that tree would have to fall down. And so this is the consistent action over time that's required to do the result that you want. And as I said, we've sold over 10 million copies of that first book in 47 languages and, 500 million books since then. Bill Bradley, NBA basketball player, became a senator from New Jersey. He was in the NBA Hall of Fame. He actually ran for the nomination of the Democratic Party one year, didn't get it, but right up there, leader in the world. And what made him so good at basketball was every night when everyone else would be in there taking their showers, he'd find 5 spots on the floor and he would shoot until he got 15 in a row. So imagine it's 7 o'clock, everyone else is left at 5. You're out there, you get number 13, you miss number 14, you got to start over at number 1. And he would not leave until he did that. And he would do it from different spots every day until he could just sink them from anywhere, anytime. Jump shots, hook shots, whatever it was. And so he was the go-to guy, like Michael Jordan would have been, like Kobe Bryant would have been, so forth. So the reality is that was his rule of 5. Keller Williams, many of you know the real estate company. When I was down giving a talk for their top franchise owners in Austin, Texas, I met with the board, the directors. They said they had this, what they called the 5-10-15-5 rule. They said, anyone who does this is an automatic success. And I said, well, tell me about it. They said, you have 5 meetings of someone needing to list a property or buy a property. You make 10 phone calls to set up meetings like that. You send out 15 thank you cards to the people you had the phone call and the live meetings with, handwritten thank you notes. And then he says, you go view 5 properties so you know what's available in your market, so you know what's in inventory. He said, everyone who does that makes a 6-figure income. Many people make a 7-figure income. Again, it's a daily, consistent practice over of time, which reminded me of the rule of 5. Now, my company, everyone has a Post-it stack of these 3-inch by 3-inch cards that look like this. You just post it, take it off, write on it your 5 action steps for the day. You put it on the side of your computer. I can walk around and see what my staff is committed to that day and see what they've checked off. And the rule we have is you don't go home until you finish those 5 or have a really good reason why it wasn't possible. So we're teaching, it's not about the effort, it's about the result that you get and the commitment to get the results. People get very efficient. So if you're interested, you can actually buy those online at jackcanfield.com if you want, or you just take a 3x5 index card and just put 5 little boxes and put lines across here, it'd be fine. So what I'd like you to do for the next 2 minutes that I have before I have to get off, and I'll come back, I think, one more time, and we'll do the final version of the exercises I want you to understand that you have to do, the actions that are required. I want you to look on the bottom of that page where you wrote your affirmation. It says 5 action steps I can take tomorrow. So let's say by Monday at 5 p.m., since we're in the weekend, if you want to take the weekend off, what are 5 action steps you could do to begin accomplishing your breakthrough goal? It might be to reach out to someone and ask them for advice. It might be to sign up for one of the programs that's being offered here. It might be to read a book on investing or go buy a book on investing. 5 specific action steps. They don't have to be huge, but they have to be 5 actions that you could do between now and 5 p.m. on Monday that would allow you to move in the direction of achieving your goal. So go ahead and write that down. When it's time to take our next break, which is not yet, but when it is, you might find that one of the things you want to do as an action is to reach out to some of the other people here, see if there'll be an accountability partner for you. You've got a room full of people that are committed to doing the same thing. And all you do with an accountability partner is you call them up on the phone. I call on Monday, you call me on Tuesday, we go back and forth at a designated time, like 7 in the morning or whatever you want, and just do your rule of 5. Talk about the 5 things you're committed to that day, and then the next day you see if you did them or not. You can also share resources with each other. If your partner gets stuck, you can do a little coaching. But you never want that call to last more than 5 minutes. Because if it lasts more than 5 minutes, someone's usually keeping the call going longer than the other person wants, then it becomes a burden, and then you stop doing it, and then it doesn't work anymore. All right, so I will be back here in a bit, and we'll take this a little step further later this afternoon. So thank you again. Hope this was helpful.
Ladies and gentlemen, come on, give it up for Jack Canfield.